Food security is one of the most pressing challenges in Nigeria, where the agricultural sector plays a crucial role in sustaining the population. A significant threat to achieving food security lies in post-harvest losses, a pervasive issue that leads to a large portion of agricultural produce being wasted before it reaches consumers. According to estimates, Nigeria loses about 40 to 50% of its harvested crops, which not only diminishes food availability but also negatively impacts the livelihoods of farmers and the economy as a whole. This loss often stems from factors like inadequate storage, poor transportation, infrastructure, and the lack of modern preservation techniques. Without access to refrigeration, drying systems, or packaging technology, crops such as grains, fruits, and vegetables are particularly vulnerable to pests, diseases, and environmental conditions like excessive humidity or rainfall. The result is a significant decrease in food supply, contributing to inflation and food scarcity across the country. Today on Late Edition, we shall be looking at food security and curtailing post-harvest losses. I am Ekene Ndulue. Thank you for joining us. And joining us on the program is Professor Lateef Oladimeji Sani, a professor of food science and technology from Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. He is the executive director, Nigerian Stored Products Research Institute, NSPRI. He is also a consultant project manager building an integrated economically sustainable cassava seed systems, Basics 2, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, Nigeria. He is the current president of the International Society of Tropical Root Crops, West African Association of Food Science and Technology, and chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Nigerian Societal Reformation and Peace Foundation. He collaborated with colleagues in Nigeria and abroad to secure over $30 million in research grants while working with NRI Greenwich University in the United Kingdom on DFID, EU, and BMGF funds, as well as IITA, GAIN, AAU, and McGill University. He was a recipient of 22 scholarships, fellowships, awards, prizes, honors, and recognition, including the 2011 FONAB Research Productivity Award and 2012 FONAB Most Outstanding International Ambassador and 2008 Consultative Group of International Agricultural Research Award for Regional Technology Development in Sub-Saharan Africa. Our next guest is Farmer Omolara Omolewa Svensson. She is a trailblazing entrepreneur, media personality, and agricultural expert with a career spanning over 2 decades. Farmer Omolara has established herself as a leader in the agricultural sector, empowering local farmers and promoting sustainable agriculture practices. She started her first business, a restaurant in Sweden, which became a hub for African cuisine and culture. This venture led her to establish OOK Farms, a company that has become a leading player in the agricultural sector. In November 2023, Omolara was installed as the leader of Women in Agriculture in Oyo State, an arm of All Farmers Association of Nigeria, where she coordinated and saw to the welfare, professional success, and economic prosperity of women in agriculture in Oyo State. In January 2024, Omolara founded a first-of-its-kind body for female Nigerian farmers known as Nigerian Women for Agricultural Progress, NWAP. The body aims to empower women through comprehensive support, education, and opportunities, as well as create a landscape where women in agriculture are recognized as key players. At this point, I'd like to welcome both of you to late edition on NTA News 24. It's a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, let me kickstart with Professor here. From what you read from the estimates available to us, you saw that about 40 to 50% of food crops harvested in Nigeria are wasted, due to a lot of reasons. What is the significance of this figure, to our agricultural sector?
The implication is that once you lost close to 40%, you are talking of losing around $2 billion worth of investment for agricultural sector in this country. So, and that's why it is a significant drive for everybody to work together to reduce the post-harvest losses. The Honorable Minister for State will always say, what action can we do to reduce it, even by 20%? And that is the strategy we are brainstorming presently, to be able to map out how best can we reduce the post-harvest losses from the horticulture, which horticulture at times can move to 50%. Tomato, all those lettuce, and into cereals. They have limited losses, but root and tuber crops also are in the neighborhood of 30 to 40%. That's yam, cassava, potato. Once you harvest them, the physiology begins immediately, and they begin to deteriorate if care is not taken.
Okay, let's look at the problem now. What would you attribute this to, the challenges of food wastages and losses? What are the major issues? What leads to this problem?
Well, you see, in your preamble, you've already stated the key ones. The most important one is the infrastructure. And my colleague from Sweden will tell you that farmers in Sweden have everything from the farm, even irrigation system, water system on the farm, mechanized equipment on the farm. They are not taking produce from one farm location to another. Everything is situated on the farm. It is the intermediate products that move from that farm straight to the aggregation point or to the major markets. Now, as they are moving, the road network, very smooth like this wall. So the critical problem we have are the physical infrastructure. Our road network, very bad. Electricity to even store some of these things are not there. And the worst, timely release of credit facilities, if at all they are there. So the technology is there. We have technology in this country. I recall when I did a kind of survey of post-harvest equipment in Africa for IIT in 2003. And I found out that some of our national research institutes were actually supporting institutes in Ghana, in Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Uganda. In fact, Tanzania one shocked me, even including military, who were supporting Tanzania in the past. So we have the technology at the cottage, small and medium, that can help our nation. It is when we are talking of large-scale, turnkey industries that the technologies will come from outside the country. So the next question you ask is that how are we not accessing those technology? Is brought down to the credit issue. The farmers, our smallholder farmers, do not have that money. In those days, if you recall, at least Southwest Nigeria had what we call cooperative support society. And that was the way they built the cocoa business. And that is the stage we need to go back to.
Okay, let me go over to Farmer Omolara. Farmer Omolara, I've asked you, why the prefix to your name, but you've explained you are a farmer and a well-established one for that matter. So for a farmer in Nigeria, what are some of can you tell us your experience, with harvesting your crops and the storage, and how far it goes into wastages?
Well, I think my senior colleague has mentioned one of the major problems that we have when it comes to wastage, post-harvest loss, as we call it. And it goes beyond just, the infrastructure is very key. I mean, we all know that there is nothing we can achieve without infrastructure. I'll give you an example. One of my biggest farms is located in a place called Fashola in Oyo State, where Baba Awolowo them had a farm settlement. So I've had this farm now for about, 15 years thereabout. And about 10 years ago, every month we couldn't break even because we were always buying tires, and I've forgotten the name. There's something on 6-tire trucks at the back that when you go to fix it, they will tell you to pay. So the point is, the roads were so bad that there is a particular place that when the truck goes in, you wait for a couple of minutes before you see the truck come out on the other end. So infrastructure is one of the major problems, as he has rightfully said. The second part of it is, we have in this country, like he has already said, equipment that can help small-scale farmers or even medium-scale farmers. We don't have large-scale farmers yet in this country, that's the truth. Just like we don't have fully mechanized farming yet. That could help these farmers to understand the process from harvesting to avoid post-harvest loss. Most of our farmers do not have this training, number one. So I keep saying it, training, sensitization. We're still carrying our tomatoes in wooden baskets. Is it wood? Is that whatever you call it?
Yeah.
Wooden basket. To start
crates.
with, I don't know who came about that invention, but it does not make any sense that you put a fruit vegetable like tomato in a wooden basket to start with. But all of these trainings, we have to keep sensitizing our farmers. We have to keep training them. And as we're training them also, we then have to make this equipment equipment, that's what it's called. We have to make it accessible and affordable for the farmers. Because tomatoes that I use as an example, a lot of our farmers already know. In short, all the farmers already knows now, these are the work we have been doing for years, that it makes more sense and it's more profitable if they use the plastic trays. Yeah. Now, how many of these farmers can afford the plastic trays? In short, some people, for storage, their job is, we go to them, we rent these plastic trays.
Okay.
That's what they do for a living. They rent out plastic trays, and it must come back the way you have collected it. But normally, in advanced countries like Sweden and other places, every tomato farmer has plastic trays, or can actually, through their cooperative or their associations, get access to get the plastic trays, and then they pay for it, instrumentally. And now, talking about access to equipment, I mean, this is like the lowest hanging fruit, plastic trays. Yes. There are a lot of other things that needs to be put in place just because of time. I say it all the time, and I always put out a disclaimer. I am not a politician. I don't aim to be in this lifetime. But this administration has been intentional about bringing about food security. But this is one aspect that they're not putting a lot of attention on just yet. It is very, very important that we restructure the Bank of Agriculture to be able to have customized lending system that attends to the entire value chain of the agricultural sector. I'll break it down for you a bit. Okay. I am farming tomato on 10 acres of land. I have approached Bank of Agriculture for money to farm tomatoes. Bank of Agriculture should not just give me money for my farm input, because right now that's what is being done. The harvesting and preventing post-harvest losses, expenses should be embodied in that package that you give to a tomato farmer, so that when I take this money and I'm harvesting, everything I need to prevent post-harvest loss is already included or embedded in that loan that you're giving me. But the bank itself is not looking at that now. or you want to harvest, you want to plant tomatoes. You bring your what's it called, your spreadsheet, EOI, or what do you call it, and they give you according to that. So we have to start regularizing all of these issues, and the private sector can't do it alone. It has to come from the government. Now, what I've just said to you now is a policy in the agricultural lending sector. But the problem, most of our problem in this sector is there has not been policy implementation. And when there are no policy implementation, the change that the policy is supposed to bring about, you will not get it. So yes, access to affordable funds in order for farmers to be able, because a lot of times when we have gone out to train farmers, we train them, we tell them what to do. 2-3 months down the line, they cannot put their training into action. They can't sustain it because it needs money. So that's why we're always preaching that not just access to funds, but funds that are affordable. For instance, if you want to give a tomato farmer money to get equipment they need to prevent post-harvest loss, it can't be at the same rate at which you have given them for the input for the cultivation, because this is an investment that they're going to be using for another 10 years. So the payment plan for that as well, that should be put into the consideration. Another thing he mentioned is irrigation system. How many banks, starting from Bank of Agri to even the commercial banks, has any sort of packaging for farmers that wants to invest in irrigation? Because irrigation itself, it's an investment.
Very important, yeah.
It's very important, and it is an investment. The money you use to set up a proper professional irrigation on a 10 acres of land would have cultivated 60-70 acres of land. Tomato for you, for instance. So
it's almost 10 million now.
Yeah, so
for 5 hectares.
For 5 hectares.
5 hectares. Okay.
That's 10 million. That's money. Even because you have access to, wholesalers and what have you.
Yes.
If you're just to walk into the market and pick on the shelf like that, you're looking at about 15 to 17 million. We're doing one presently in Abuja. So it's a whole lot of money. So it's not like the farmers don't know what to do. It's not like we've not been making trainings available. But two things, which ends, it begins and ends with the government. First, infrastructure. The Fashola story I was telling earlier. Now, a couple of years ago, when we harvest on my farm, it got to a stage I tell the off-takers, come to the farm and pick it. I don't want to go through that
because of
stress.
Transporting the product to them.
But now, from my farm in Fashola to market in Oyo town itself, it takes less than 15 minutes. Just because the major Isenyi road has been done.
Okay.
So the part I have to worry about is from my farm to the major road. So what we did was, those of us that has farm at that axis, we contributed money and they graded the road. Because once you get to main Isenyi or your road, it's expressway.
Okay.
You see, so infrastructure, which it boils down, it starts and ends with government.
Okay.
The other part of it is making trainings available for these farmers and access to affordable funds, which again, it boils down to government. The policy has been there, I think, since days of Baba Obasanjo for this sort of lending for cooperative and what have you. But it has not been implemented with the financial organizations. So they don't look into, their lending is not holistic. It's just there on the surface. What do you want to harvest? When do you harvest it? What do you get? All those, I need equipment for post-harvest loss, I need equipment for irrigation, they don't pay attention to it. And we farmers can't make that happen. Again, it comes down to the table of the government to make sure that these policies are being implemented with the financial institutions. Okay,
Professor Lateef, let's come back to you. Your institution, the Nigerian Stock Products Research Institute, would like to know where you are coming in, to bridge this gap in curtailing post-harvest losses in Nigeria. You have a lot on your shoulders.
Yeah, thank you very much. The institute was founded in 1948 by the British government, and Nigeria took over in 1960. A decree was first of all mooted in 1977, but with the National Assembly now, we have a very solid approved bill for the assistance of the Nigerian Stock Product Research Institute, other Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, under Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, as the only institute in charge of post-harvest management in the country. You ask, what do we have?
Yes.
One of our output is what she has cited. The crate for tomato was actually the number one output of
The plastic
Nigerian
crates.
stock. Yeah, plastic crate. But as an institute, ours is to come out with a research output, functional, and the next stage is for developmental partners or private sectors to take it over. But in the last 15 years, we are lucky that some developmental partners took over the crates from some of our international donors. And they now strengthen some private sectors that are producing that crate. But if you ask me, the production of that crate today in this country is less than 20% of the need of the Nigerian farmers.
I beg to differ, it's less than 10%.
Less than 10%
Okay.
of the needs of the Nigerian farmers. That's number one. We have parabolic solar dryer, scalable now as an institute. And of recent, I had a national stakeholder discussion on some of the farms, and I think I'm going to enlist a farm into it, where the federal government wants now gave us mandate to actually test run some numbers of the parabolic solar dryers in agroecological locations in the country. So which we are going to do. The same thing with the inert atmosphere, but parabolic solar dryer, for information, can dry even dabino.
Okay. That's date.
Yes,
yeah.
okra,
Okra.
even cassava, yam.
Pepper.
So it's multi-crop.
Okay.
But the cost, because of most of the ingredients or raw material to use to bring it out, are imported. So that's why the cost is a little bit high. But once we get it on, we put it in a farm, she use it, she's trading with it, it becomes easier for us to now come back and say, the federal government, can we strengthen the fabricators and the spare parts producers to be able to now get this kind of a thing and mass produce. The third one is what we call inert atmosphere silo. The silo I'm talking about is not the 600,000 metric tons owned by the federal government, no. This one is now we have 2 ton, 5 ton, but the one we are doing presently under federal government intervention is 50 ton capacity, dual. So that you have 10 ton capacity to store maize or rice or millet or sorghum. And this one is part of it. And if we do it, in the next 3 months we'll come back here. And the private sectors or the beneficiaries.
Is this something that is in progress already?
Definitely. We're just waiting for the cash back for the extended budget of 2024. Once we have that.
So what's that silo going to do actually?
Now, as a farmer in Fashola, she has planted maize. She harvested maize and she needed to store the maize. Otherwise, she will just roll out the maize and waste money. So that silo will store that maize for 4 months, 6 months before you use it. Even if it is paddy rice you want to store or millet. That's the essence of that. And it's very important because now we're discussing with Olam. Olam was targeting 25,000 metric tons of silo. But when we discussed with them, they now saw the benefit of the 100 ton of silo that they can actually put inside their own rice farmers in the whole country. If we get that deal...
It's like a mini silo.
Yes.
Okay.
If you get that kind of a deal, it's going to help a lot because the strategy in our agricultural business is that you have high-yielding varieties, you have mechanized system, or you make use of what we call good agricultural practices or systems in weed management. Then you reduce the length of your transportation of the produce. The more you can reduce the length, the more you are going to make more profit. So we introduced parabolic solar dryer cocoa farming regions in the country, and they dry their cocoa. The slating is very good. The quality is there, nothing is broken before you get to the market. Then they have premium income from that kind of a business. So that is the strategy. The livestock people that need soybean or they need maize, They have the silo for them. For soybean, we have what we call a metric drum, storage drum. And in fact, the governor of Borno State ordered for 1,000 for the Borno farmers, which we deliver before October 2024. The same thing we deliver with Sasakawa African Association in Kano, 210 of the metric drums. And we have about 10 plus 6 now. 16 of the parabolic solar dryers are already installed in Kano as I'm talking to you. So these are some of the things. As an institute, ours is not commercial. It is just of recent now, yes. With research based, but it is just of recent now that the government now gave us mandate. We have spin-up industries that we are building up. But to me, we still need the private sectors like Madam that will be able to take over this technology and commercialize it. If they commercialize it, they have market for it. They can produce thousands of what I'm talking, not 100.
Okay, Prof, hold your thoughts there. We'll go on a very short break now. Late edition continues in a moment. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. If you are just joining us, you are watching Late Edition on NTA News 24. And we have been speaking with Professor Lateef Oladimeji Sani and Farmer Omolara Svensson, looking at issues around food security. Farmer Omolara, before we went on that break, Prof was able to reel out some of the things they were able to achieve as an institute, research institute. You, as a private sector farmer, how do you see some of these innovations, and do you think these are what farmers in Nigeria actually need? Are they actually bridging the gap with these innovations when it comes to addressing issues around post-harvest losses?
Thank you. Well, I say all the time, our problem is not that we don't know the solutions to our problem. Our problem is actually bringing the solutions to manifestation. When he was talking about silo, I was listening very carefully. I personally applaud the fact that they're now building silos that can be 2, 3 in 1. You know, that is the right move in the right direction. But it's deeper than that. And this is where, again, government comes in. So an average farmer in Nigeria is probably farming on a 5 acre in the south. In the north, maybe 5 hectares. These sort of silos do not meet what their need is. So in their implementation plans, I mean, the Nigerian Women for Agricultural Progressive and Development Initiative, I can boldly say that we have members in all the 774 local government in Nigeria. So I'm not just talking as a farmer in Oyo State. I'm talking as for Nigerians. We need silos that can be cluster friendly. We need silos that you can put in Fashola, you can put in Kuje, you can put in Suleja, where it becomes like some sort of a susu, if you understand what I'm trying to say. I don't know if you have that in the pipeline.
That is what I'm talking about, madam.
So in a situation whereby, if this is 500 metric ton silo, it can then be divided for this cluster as 1,000 metric tons. You know, this is for them. This cluster has, because what we're working on and we're progressing with as an association is to make sure that we put our farmers in clusters. It's part of the problem we are having. Everyone is behaving like an island. And in agriculture, your strength is in your numbers, and you need cooperatives. So if their silo, like I said, can provide these services, then we are on the right path to solving one of the major problems that we have in terms of post-harvest losses. But what I worry is, he said they are research institute. It's good. They brought the research out. Now again, it boils down to, I wish you had brought somebody from the Ministry of Agri sitting next to me. Implementation and the availability of this, the availability and the affordability of these silos to farmers. It was like I said in this same room weeks ago, our problem is not for Nigeria to have 1 million tractors. At Fashola, I have over 150 acres of land. I don't need to own a tractor. When I want to plow my land, I will use 3 weeks, which is not.
You go and hire one.
I'll go and hire one, and after 3 weeks, what is my tractor doing? You know, what we need is power tillers, semi-planter, semi-harvesters, because we, as a nation, we've not gotten to that level where one person will own 500 acres of land in one location. Then you want to own a tractor. The same thing applies to the issue of silo. I have maize that I've stored now. I have soya that I've stored. And what I've done is for us to build locally built silos. I'm sure you know what they look like, which is not supposed to be, because if in Fashola, for example, we have your silo that can take, let's say, 2,000 metric tons of grains, and it can be divided, then all of us, we know that we're bringing our grains here every year. This is how much we pay to the government for using it, and this is who is maintaining it, if it's government or if it's private sector. So yes, what he said they're doing is in the right direction, but I'm not excited until I see that government or a private sector that has the money is working hand in hand with them to make sure that this innovation is actually being deployed and it's being made accessible for farmers to use.
Okay, Prof, I don't know if you'd like to clarify.
Two areas of clarification. When I'm seated, the federal government of Nigeria is seated.
Okay.
Now that's why I'm the executive director, chief executive officer of Nigeria's third product research institute. That's the only research institute on post-harvest management. Okay. Any other thing the Honorable Minister for Agri will say are policy statement. The technicality of it is me. What I'm talking to you, and as a Nigerian, you know, we have silos in this country. I don't know whether you know 500,000 metric tons.
Yes, we have silos.
They are not available.
Massive silos that
massive that are not available for the groups of people you are talking about. That's one. Two, as a research institute, we have what we call scalable silo designs. We have installed 250 metric tons of silo in Landmark University for their livestock section in the last 4 or 5 years as an institute. So it depends on what you want. The farmers in Nigeria that I know today, even this my 50-ton silo, yeah, we take them time to fill it.
That's what I just said. They are small-scale farmers.
So they are small-scale farmers. So before you talk of aggregation cluster, start with the small-scale groups into cell. If they will need 5 of my silo, we give them the 5 for a start. As we are doing that, you can now talk of, can we now do 1,000 metric tons of silo? We can do it. We have the capacity to do it. But when it comes to, can we deliver 1,000 of silo? That is when we will now fall back to our industries at Lagos. Our Paygate is one of the biggest industry in this country that can machine thousands of equipment for us if we want in this country. And they are the commercial hub that have been working with our institute. The one I said we deliver to 1,000 metric tons we deliver in Borno State was mass produced by Paygate, not my institute. They have a mode. So that's the way we are doing the commercialization. Okay. So now, let's start from what we have. That's number one. Research institute in this country, you need power tiller all these small implement. Nigerian agricultural mechanization can do that. They have it. Up to even small hand-held harvester. The problem we have in the country as a country is that we do not value what we have. I traveled to India in 2007 for World Congress on root crops as the president. And we went to one industry, Sago Sarf, in southern India. And they were showing me a globulator. They were saying, Odigbo Global. It was a globulator developed by Professor Odigbo.
Okay. A Nigerian.
A Nigerian with Proda in Enugu. So small scale equipment, but already now mass produced in India. So if we start from what we have, we will test it with you. If once you say you like it, it becomes easier to scale. The scaling of technology today is not difficult. But the last leg of what you say is the area I said in the beginning. The commercial investors need to take over some of our technologies. If you go to Brazil, they have this equipment at cottage, small, medium, large. The same equipment, same specifications, small like this, big like this, and enlarged like that. That is the stage we are not at the present in this country. And it is not federal government, it is the public, and it is the private sectors that have to come together. NASIMA need to be part of this. Nigerian Society of Engineers, all the professional body, or Nigerian Academy of Science, then the business moguls, the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, and then the investors. They need to come. She was talking about recapitalization of agriculture the other time. In fact, it's one of the drive the Honorable Minister recently said about recapitalization of Bank of Agriculture. And I like this term of where she's talking of. Do not just support one node of the value chain. Can we look into a total support that can be able to give you profit and assure the farmers that there is a backup? For us to do that, it means the Bank of Agriculture also need to raise a kind of what we call equity funding aspect of the Bank of Agriculture. So that it's not just that you are lending me money for input. You can also be part of this business. And it's a drive that the Executive Secretary of Nigeria Agricultural Development Fund told us last Thursday in this same Abuja. That is his own interest now. That how can we make sure we capitalize ourselves such that we have investment in the technology we want to popularize.
I can see Farmer Omolara is itching to say something.
Well, I disagree with you on 2 points. First of all, you mentioned that having our equipment available to farmers and we valuing what we have has nothing to do with government, has everything to do with government. Like I was saying to you before the program started, as a people, not just the farmers, our orientation needs to be reoriented. We have to unlearn and relearn a lot of things. And you and I cannot do that. It boils down to government. Whenever I come here, I said, for us to achieve food sustainability in Nigeria, National Orientation Agency needs to come to the table. As you're bringing BOA, you're bringing NAIC, you're bringing Ministry of Agric, you're bringing your institute. You have to have the national orientation in the middle of it. Because the fact that farmers do not want to use Nigerian-made equipment, is not just solely the people's fault.
Is it that they don't want to use it or it's not available?
That's the second thing I was going to say. First of all, it's not available in the market, sir. If you go to Alaba today and you want to buy semi-planter, maybe with 10 compartments, it is not. You cannot find Nigerian-made products. So something you don't have access to, how can you even use it? And then when you find it, the trust has been broken, just as it is with any other sector in Nigeria that where did they do it? Enugu. Please, I don't want to waste my money. So, and that is where the orientation comes in.
Meanwhile,
just like
India is already adopting
India is already
technology from
using
Enugu.
that Enugu technology.
Okay.
You know,
so it's about orientation.
The same way people look at me and they don't believe when I say that I am a farmer. They say you don't look like a farmer, and I say, does a surgeon comes out with blood on his blood body when he's going on national TV? So there is a whole lot of orientation, training, sensitization that the government needs to do with our farmers, with his institute and the private sector, and of course the financial sector. And in terms of BOA, I just will not comment on that fund on national TV. In terms of BOA, not only the recapitalization, but BOA needs to have what we call the procurement department. An agency did it sometime in the past. I don't know if it's Yaradua regime or Obasanjo's regime, whereby when you go to them to loan money, they don't give the money to you.
Okay.
So if you want to cultivate cassava, the only money you get is maybe money you're going to use to pay for laborers. You just go to their procurement department. We are loaning you money for 100 stem of cassava. Ngwanu, take 100 stem of cassava. And I have been preaching this since our days in Afan. And I'll break it down for you to understand it. For all the loans or facilities we've given out, you know, as an association or as OK Farms, now my private company, the women that are defaulted based, if you listen to the story, is from their husband.
Okay.
Right? No, it's the truth.
The men will take the money from them.
No, they don't take, they borrow.
Okay.
Say, Ashebi is cassava, you don't need the fertilizer yet. Quickly borrow me that money. Before 4 weeks, when you need the fertilizer application, I will bring it back. It has entered voicemail. And this is why you see that a lot of farmers default when you give them money, because you know farming is timing. So they just look at it, before I need to spray this farm, it's another 6 weeks, and rain has not fallen. Let me quickly use this money to pay my daughter's school fees. And then it's time to spray. You can't spray. Once you miss a day or two, you already know your results at the end of it. So if we really want to stop food insecurity in Nigeria, we have to do these things right. And that's why I keep saying it anytime I get the chance. Bank of Agriculture has a lot of work to do. Not only in everything, they need to look at the sector holistically, commodity by commodity, and then tailor your lending packages in that line alongside with NAIC. That's even another topic on its own.
That's
insurance.
Okay.
Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation. Okay. Because another wala we have with them is you tell them buy insurance. They tell you no, we are afraid. The GO said there shall be plenty this year. The Lord will not, you know. And the rest is history. And that was
making it a spiritual issue.
Spiritual issue.
Okay.
And last year in Southwest, in my days on earth, we have not witnessed where during rainy season we didn't have rain for over 60 days. And we all lost money. Because, of course, nobody is taking insurance. So this is a situation that there is no part of it that is not dependent on government. As the national coordinator for millions of women and youth in agriculture, I can tell you for free that if government, when government is much more intentional about doing this, our problem is not like we don't know what to do. I mean, you listen to him talk now. He's a professional. You bring BOA here, MD is a professional. We know what to do. You look at our policies. We have the best policies in black and white. We have the best policies.
Implementation is the problem.
Implementation and enforcement is the problem. And I look at it as a nation, we have law enforcement agencies. Why can't we have policy enforcement agencies in the agricultural sector? Because until we get these things right, it's not rocket science, but at the same time, it's not magic. It is either you get it right or we remain where we are.
Okay, Prof.
Okay, let me react to two major key information. I think because I've been with most of the presidents since President Obasanjo in this country, we ran the Cassava Initiative together. And I must tell you, we did very well because it's commodity focused that time. You have the Fish for Oil initiative that time, palm oil, and then we moved up to Dr. Akewumi Adesina when we started the agricultural transformation agenda, e-wallet, and so many things. And my own take there was inclusion policy, import substitution, the use of high quality cassava flour and bread in this country. The flour means all of them, they know me, bakers in this country. Now, but it moved up to when we have the last one on the issue of Anchor Borrower program. You see, the Anchor Borrower program, by design, will have been better. Because he talked about, in the Anchor Borrower program, there is a line item on the budget in the economy of production that talk of insurance.
Okay.
In the Anchor Borrower program, there is a line item on extension. Either National Orientation Agency or whatever that will come inside it. Then the input, they do not give money directly
To farmers.
Okay, but unfortunately, the design was defaulted along the line, and that's why we immediately talk of Anchor Borrower.
I saw her
our face
expression.
changed.
Yes.
And I will say it, if it's because CBN is not listening to some of us.
They're not.
And we are just wasting Nigerian money. The design will have been good.
Sadly.
But how much of about 30,000 naira you are putting on the extension? So to me, investment on agriculture, stabilizing food security, it means that you have to sit down and say, how do I make food available, affordable, and accessible? Now, that is where two layers of investment will have come in as a country. Most of anything, government, national orientation, extension, all those ones cannot be on investment. It has to be a kind of community social responsibility of the government in that kind of a package. Okay. So I think when I say government, I'm not saying government, all of us are government, that's what I'm saying. And you have been playing your role as a private player. All of us, sincerely speaking, if you go back, it is when you combine both private and public that you have the best of the best. What does a professor know in business? Which risk has he ever entered into? Are you getting me now? So, but by the time you are seated, and we say these are technology, you say, okay, can I look at the payback period of what you are telling me? And what is the sensitivity analysis? How much can I get? And one say 14% internal rate of growth, another one say 23%. You as a businesswoman can be able to decide, say, yeah, gentlemen, this one has 23% internal rate of return, but payback period of 6 years. Yes, this one has 15% internal rate of return, payback period of 2.5 years. I think it is better we click ourselves into 2.5 years. And let us redo this. That is when Nigeria can move forward. Practically speaking, no individual can move this country forward. We all need to come together.
Okay, we're about rounding out the program now. Farmer Molara, before we go, I'd like to get your final thoughts, on how to ensure food security in Nigeria. What are some of those things that should be implemented as a matter of urgency?
Thank you. First of all, it's a collective effort, like he said, and every single Nigerian needs to change their orientation. When you think of food, when you think of farming, it is everyone's collective effort, because our existence and sustenance as humans is solely dependent on agriculture. So I can't remember the last time I had to buy my staple vegetables from the market. I grow them in my homes, and you don't have to have land to grow. Contribute your own quota. I remember a couple of years, 2-3 years ago, some politics in the association happened, and I put out just about 4 million naira to my women in Okiogun, and I told them, do me dry season vegetable farming. I want to see if I, Omolara, can crash the price of ewedu in Bodija market. And I did. That is one person being intentional about what she's doing. So vegetables were coming from Okiogu like 10 times than what used to come during December period So you go to Bodija market, it's even at 5 p.m. in the evening, you see a lot of ewedu. So you're forced, the next day you better quickly sell because you will have to go home with your vegetable. So it's a collective effort at that level for feeding. The least we should be complaining about as a nation is that we cannot eat. It's quite shameful looking at what God has given us as a nation.
Thank you very much. Professor, food security now, what should we do? Prices are still high in the market. What should we begin to do now as a nation to tackle this issue?
Number one is for all of us to go back to the farm. Government is doing their own best. Individuals need to complement what government is doing. Let us go back. You remember when we were in primary school, we have school garden. Let government direct all schools to have their farms. Give it six months. You will see things will crash, just like the models is talking about. If the schools can take 500 bots of poultry and put stock in about 1,000 fingerlings. Schools, let's target even federal secondary schools.
Even universities.
Even universities.
Institutes.
Let's target it. The more we plant, the more we produce, the more we dry, the more, that is when the forex exchange will come down. Practically speaking. And that's why she keep on saying, can we recapitalize Bank of Agri? Because by the time people start to plant, we will have bumper harvest. Then the next stage will be, how do you add value to what you have? And that is when they will need more money to go into processing and value addition and storage. So that I want to appeal that we need to do it. If we can do this, it's going to help us a lot. All other ones are the compliance. You see, I have experienced that national agencies can prosecute, but as a country, we are bounded by politics, we are bounded by traditions, we are bounded by culture. And until we are ready and say, may God help Nigeria, and we want to face it and make Nigeria to move. Mr. President is doing so. I must tell you, the ministers that you are talking about are moving seriously on fertilizer and so many things. But the only way it can come out to every one of us is for all of us to be part of it. We must take ownership of food security in this country.
Okay, I think that's a very good place to leave it. We must take ownership of food security in this country. And as we conclude today's insightful discussion on food security and curtailing post-harvest losses, it is clear that addressing this critical issue requires collaborative efforts from governments, farmers, and the private sector. We say thank you to our esteemed guests, Professor Lateef Oladimeji Sani, Executive Director, Nigerian Stored Products Research Institute, and also Farmer Omolara Svensson, Founder, National Coordinator, Nigerian Women for Agricultural, Progressive and Development Initiative. It was nice having both of you on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
I am Ekene Ndube. Thank you for watching.